Welcome to the Sticky Note Marketing Show. I'm your host, Mary Zarnecki. Business leaders today are overwhelmed with a unique set of challenges, from rapidly changing markets to digital disruptions, leaving many uncertain about where to focus their efforts to grow their brands and their businesses. This uncertainty can lead to missed opportunities, wasted resources, and stagnant growth. But it doesn't have to be this way. On this show, I provide clear, actionable strategies and bring in guest experts that cut through the noise and deliver consistent results. I share what works and what doesn't when it comes to effective marketing and growing your business. Tune in to discover the latest insights and proven tactics to make your marketing more profitable, lead your teams with confidence, and achieve success for your brand, business, and personal aspirations. If you've ever wondered if it's possible to skip the overwhelm and map out a plan for success on a simple sticky note, I'm here to tell you that it is. So grab that pen and those sticky notes and let's get started. Welcome to this episode of Sticky Note Marketing. I'm your host, Mary Zarnecki, and today I am so excited to bring you our guest expert, Theresa French. So Theresa French is a CEO and founder of Sellmark Sales, and she's the creator of Conversation Copilot, which is actually something she's developed that helps non-traditional salespeople have more authentic, more natural conversations with high-stakes decision makers. So if you've ever found yourself a little hesitant or a little reluctant to have that sales conversation, this is the episode for you. So welcome, Teresa. So excited to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and can't wait to get sales as my jam. So I can't wait to share all my secrets and tips and tricks.
Fantastic. And it's a great jam to have because I know it's not a lot of people's jam. So I would love you, if you could, just help us understand a little bit about what you're doing now, maybe how you got there, because I know some people may already be familiar with you and others, this may be the first time they're meeting you.
Sure. I'll start at the beginning and then we'll bring us up to now because it's an evolution. It's a process as everything is. And I started my sales career when I was 9 years old, a daughter of a single mom. I'm standing in the Levi Strauss. And yes, I'm probably dating myself a bit with that. But we're standing in the middle of this clothing store and I'm looking at this outfit and I have to have it. I'm 9, maybe 10. And I'm looking at this. I have to have this. I would be so cool at school if I had that outfit. And I turn to my mom and my mom says, I can't afford it. You're going to have to earn some money. So I went home and I'm thinking and I'm strategizing and I'm thinking, how at my age am I going to make money? And I decided to set about a campaign, a 4-block city campaign to go knock on doors to see whose dogs I could walk. And two of the greatest lessons I learned in sales started with that endeavor. And that summer, I managed to amass about $3,000, which is back in that day, which is a lot of money. But I just kept at it for all summer and into the school year. But the two lessons that I walked away from are, number one, qualify your lead. If you walk up on a porch or knock on a door, look for signs that they actually own a dog. That's a really good opportunity to make sure that you're in the right playing field. But number two, don't take no for an answer and keep going. Knock on the next door and the next door and the next door. And as I remember looking down the block thinking, oh my gosh, I just had 7 no's, 10 no's, and they kept piling up. But yet I kept looking forward at the next house and having this sense about me that was like, oh, but maybe this next one's going to be it. Maybe this next one's going to be it. And so I just didn't let the no's get me down because they are just a process. They're a stepping stone on the way to a yes. And so from there, I went to high school, obviously, went to college, found this amazing marketing class that had a role play scenario. In a class, I had to come up with a fake suntan lotion product, and I had to sell this product and loved the process. And so from there, ended up selling. My first sales job was at a photography studio, and I was selling weddings. And I remember the gentleman who owned the studio said to me, no one can sell as good as I can. My name is on the sign. And I said, oh, really? Watch me. And I proceeded to outsell him by about 4-1. So with that said, that started the sales, and I played my degrees in marketing. So between marketing and sales, I've lived in this world of lead generation, solving problems, letting people know how that problem can be solved with our solutions, whatever we're selling. And then I've only spent probably, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years in an actual real job. The rest has been as an entrepreneur, sales coach, sales manager. I've managed teams. I've managed up to 10 people in a small business as a remote fractional salesperson or sales VP. So I've done it all. I've done the gamut. And what I've really fallen in love with is what I'm doing now, which brings us to the current. My zone of genius is the sales conversation itself. It's everything from a hello to hell yes. It's everything in between there, and the art and the science of constructing a compelling conversation that helps the person you're talking to feel cared for, understood, heard, and served. And so I created my proprietary serve and solve method, which is really all about going in, getting the details first, deep discovery, understanding what's really at stake, helping them establish the urgency of what's at stake, and then helping and making an offer simply to solve that problem. So very low key. This doesn't have to be what we've all been conditioned to feel sales is. And we're in a new age, and we have the ability to be authentic and caring, and that's what I bring forward for my clients. So Conversation Copilot is that program where we literally just break it down into a phased approach to every sales conversation, whether that's a 15-minute or an hour or longer conversation. There's a process and a framework, and that's what I teach, and I love it.
I think that's so amazing because I think you just said it, which is that so many of us have this preconceived notion that, okay, sales is about they already want to say no, and now we have to convince them to say yes.
Yeah.
We're trying to move a no to a yes, as opposed to taking a much more, like you said, audience-centric approach to the conversation.
Yep.
So when you start talking to people, especially entrepreneurs, I'm sure that they bump into some challenges that you need to help them overcome. What would you say is one of kind of the top three most common challenges that you find people have with sales?
So for my clients who are wanting to win more business in corporate environments, it's the ivory tower syndrome, where the CEO sits on top of this ivory tower. They're untouchable. It's a little scary for some people. They're not entirely sure how they'll hold their own in the room with this person who's accomplished so much. We give so much accomplishment or preeminence to people in high stakes positions in companies. And we think because they're a large organization, sometimes they're, I don't want to say better than us, but they know more, or somehow they're more experienced. And what I tell all my clients is the thing that they're struggling from, they'd solve it on their own if they could. They can't, but you can. So for everyone, you have a zone, you have a lane that you are the expert in, and it complements the gaps that your clients have. Otherwise, you don't have a need to be talking to them. Because if what you do doesn't solve a pervasive, expensive problem for the prospect that you're wanting to talk to, there really is no need for a conversation. So you have to know that you have your place at the table with this conversation. It doesn't matter if they're a multi Fortune 100 or a Fortune 5,000 company, they have issues, they have problems. And if you're a specialist in the thing that they need, you will do one of three things, which is what they're looking for. They want to save money, make money, or avoid risk. Everything breaks down to that. So if you talk about culture improvements, leadership training, sales training, marketing, take any topic, it comes down to those three issues. At the core, a company, no matter what size it is, wants to make more money, save money, or avoid risk. So that feeling like I don't have a place at the table, what would I have to say? How do I compete? Back to that idea that somehow we have to convince them. I love what you said about the fact that we think it's going to be a no, we assume it's a no first, and then we try to overcome it. That's not it. So these folks they need to know that you understand their issues intimately and can solve them. Number two, I would say consistency. So especially for solopreneurs who are not conditioned in the rigors of sales. When I was in my corporate jobs, we were making 100 to 150 dials a day, and we were cold calling, and it was required. There was no option. And while we had email, that was not an avenue that we were allowed to use to reach out other than in follow up. The rigor, the absolute. Now, consultants don't need 100 calls a day. They don't even need 100 clients a year, let alone 100 calls a day. So much lower volume, but quality outreach, and being able to say, hey, I'm gonna call these five people this week, these five next week. I'm gonna follow up with these five next week, and just have a rhythm and a cadence that keeps it very systemized and very doable and very manageable on a daily basis with all the other stuff that we have to deal with. Sales is not the only job you have as a consultant. You have many jobs. This is the one of the most important though, and you need to make time for it every single day. The third challenge, I think, is really how do I go from a nice conversation? So I hear this a lot. So many of my clients come to me and they go, oh, if I can just get them on the phone, I'm good. I'm fine. And then I'll ask, how many clients have ghosted you in the last month? Probably three or four. All right, those are 3 or 4 sales that we did not turn them into anything. Those are 3 or 4 opportunities that didn't come to fruition. There are things that we say and we do, or things we neglect to do in our initial discovery conversations that lead to that ghosting. It isn't that these people are jerks. It isn't that these people don't see value. They might not see value if we didn't cover that, but really at the end of the day, we didn't set next steps. And so understanding how to go from a nice conversation, I've got all the information I need, to the transaction. How do I transition from we're friends, we're getting along, we got great rapport, and then that reluctance sinks in. I don't want to look salesy. I don't want to look pitchy. I don't want to. And you never get to the point where you say, hey, what would you think of working together? It sounds like these are all your problems. This is what it's costing you. This is what's going on. It sounds to me like we might have an opportunity to work together. What would you think of that? Hey, is this something you'd like to solve now? Would it make sense for us to talk about next steps and possibly working together? Notice in none of that did I say, we're working together. Let me send you a proposal. I can solve this. Here's my pricing. I can do this and I can do that. Nope. We're just transitioning to collaboratively, what do you think we should do next? Because you've described a problem and I can solve it. Is it urgent enough now to solve or not? So I would say confidence in going after higher stakes, larger contracts. I would say consistency in the outreach and getting those at bats, and then really knowing how to transition to an actual sale and not just a nice conversation that you're chasing people for months on end. Those are the
Amazing.
three.
Hopefully you guys listening and watching have your sticky notes out because I wrote those 3 down. So make sure you get those out. Because I think that, so working from the top, I love what you said about the confidence, because especially like you said, you work with some people who are not career salespeople. This is not, I don't define myself as a salesperson. And when you don't define yourself as a salesperson, when you define yourself as an entrepreneur or founder or a marketer or something else, you're great at that thing, but sales can feel difficult, which is exactly why they need you, which is really fascinating though, because that confidence I could see having to build over time. So when you're, for example, the folks that you're talking about where you're like, oh, there's this executive I want to talk to, but they're better than me. And we may not use those words like you said, but they're unreachable or they're just so far out of my zone, or I don't have that warm introduction. What can people even do as a first step? If I don't have someone who knows them that could introduce me, how do I even get started?
That is, believe it or not, it's actually not even a step you take in front of them. It's a step you take behind the scenes. You do a little recon, figure out who this person is. Because the way that we want to approach them is from a place of relevancy. I talk a lot about the come from. And at any given engagement, you have to have the come from aligned to what you want to do next and what you want to come from that conversation. So if I want to just connect, I'm not worried about selling at this point, which you shouldn't be at this point. You just want to connect. You want to have something in common. You want to find something that the two of you can land on, that you can say, hey, we share that in common, because human nature is we're attracted to those like ourselves. If we share common interests, that's why we have clubs. That's why we have masterminds. That's why we have, hey, you're like me and let's band together. So let's find the thing that we might be able to band together with these folks and then get in front of them in social media, even a direct outreach. Or look for those places. If you don't know someone right off the top of your head that could introduce you, what are some roundabout ways that you might be able to get in? There's a champion somewhere that can get you an introduction. So what commonalities do you have with them, and then work your way up? So I teach a bottom up and a top down prospecting. And top down is you're going straight to them. You're going to do your recon. You're going to look online. There's all sorts of different tips and tricks I teach around how to find that little grain of relevancy. Or the bottom up, which now we're working with champions. These might be people who are, or I don't say they feel like they're more like at our level, if you will. They're not the top of the brass. They're not top brass and top chain. They're down here in the org chart, that is. And so we're connecting with them and building rapport and saying, hey, give me kind of the state of the union. What's going on in the company? And how do you work with John at the top? And do you have a relationship with, could you get me an introduction? Now that's a fact. We don't go that fast, but the idea is whether you're bottom up or top down, you're finding that point of relevancy. So do your homework, become a student of the people that you're studying. There's a couple of tools I'll share. One is crystalknows.com. I think it's .com. Crystal Knows is basically a personality assessment that attaches to LinkedIn. And so you can go and see a LinkedIn profile and it can tell you if they're a high D, high I, high C, what that tells you is how can you communicate to them in a way that will be most familiar to their personality style. And so it gives you a little leg up in knowing how to approach them and how to word your email. Some CEOs love 3-sentence emails, like super short. They're high drivers, they're movers and shakers. They don't have time for big, long, lengthy emails. Others, high eyes, like a lot of what's the word? Superfluous. There we go. Superfluous kinds of fluffy things. They want to know about vision. They want to know about the more soft skills, the feelings of things. So knowing that in advance, you can construct an email or your content that you're putting in front of them out on social media in a way that appeals to that personality style. So we want to do our recon, we want to do our research, we want to find those points of relevancy, and then we want to make the first outreach. And oftentimes, and I have had clients have you sent the email to someone? Nope, haven't done it yet. It's 2, 3, 4 weeks go by. I tell them, and I'm a pretty straightforward coach. So when it comes time to working with me, we're in it together, and we're going to get this stuff done. And I would say, okay, we're scheduling a Zoom. You're going to pull up your email. We're going to write the email together, and you're going to hit send while I'm on the Zoom. You're going to share your screen. And they do. And every time, Mary, sometimes even within minutes, we're still on the call and they've gotten a response. But sometimes within 24 hours to 48 hours, we get a response from the person we just sent it to. So it isn't that you can't get in, it's that you're probably not sending it or not staying in it long enough to get in their inbox for them to see the value of acknowledging and booking a call with you. So at the end of the day, we just have to take the actions. We love imperfect action because there's no such thing as a perfect action, period. Full stop. So an action is perfect. No action is imperfect. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But do your recon, know who you're working with, and find that point of relevancy and go for it. That's the answer.
First of all, I'm so happy to hear that you do that for your people, because that is such a powerful thing. Just, no, we're going to do this now. We're going to open it up, we're going to do it, and then we're going to send it. Because like you said, you can have the best strategy, you can have the best wording, you could wordsmith that email until the cows come home. But unless you actually put it out there, we have no idea if it's going to work. We have no feedback. So I love that. It's
I love that
interesting.
you just brought up feedback. I want to touch on that really quick.
Yeah, please.
So one of the ways that I work as a coach, I don't have modules. I don't have videos. I don't have worksheets. I don't have any of that. The work we do is on the actual work that needs to get done. So when we talk about conversations and having conversations, we record them, we debrief them, we break them down, we go in and we diagnose where we could have gone right, and instead we went left. We talk about, did you remember this? Oh, did you hear him say this? This is something that should be in your mind. This feedback loop is absolutely critical, and we don't have enough of it in the marketplace. I can write an email and I can bake it in the lab, just like you said. We could work forever and obsess over the perfect language, but until we test it in the market and get the market to feedback, we don't know if it's any good. I've worked with clients on email sequences and outreach and things like that, even voicemails. And is this the good one? I don't know. Let's go put it in the marketplace and let them decide, because that's really who counts anyway. But in the meantime, while you're constructing it, the thinking, so you can do it over and over, this feedback loop is so critical. So I have created an accountability program that is just straight accountability, that doesn't have a lot of training. It's just do the thing, because my people, my clients, need that regimented reminder that I need to do my sales today. I need to do it in this way. I sent out this many emails, and become a system. But that feedback, to know that the confidence that you're doing it at least close to that feedback loop, is critical. And I don't think there's enough of it in the marketplace.
No, I'd agree with you. From a marketing side, I start even at offer development, and people will be playing with the colors of the logo for their course. And but have you asked anyone if they want it? Is there someone, right? Are we going to be launching a crickets or a wait list? What's going on here?
That's right.
It is. I agree with you. Feedback is so important. Now, it's so interesting. So going back to your 3 things, one of the things that, as you were talking, stood out to me was that at the beginning, when we're saying, okay, we have to have confidence, like you said, that work starts before we even write the email, before we even have the conversation. And at that point, we're holding back from the ask or holding back from even, like you said, sending the email. But then it's so funny in step 3 when you were talking about you get ghosted because you didn't ask for something, you didn't give them that clear next step, you didn't make an offer, you didn't say, it sounds like you have this problem. That's what I do. So
Yep.
it's so funny because it seems like at the beginning we were so focused on the conversation and the pitch and the sale. And then at the moment where we actually have the opportunity to give it, we
Yes.
hold ourselves back. So what's that about? How do you help people get out of that trap?
I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to seem pushy. I don't want to try to convince them of something they don't want. It's this fear of how you're seen.
Yeah.
It is one of the biggest kryptonites of selling is how you're worried about what you look like instead of what you're doing and what you offer for that client to be able to transform whatever is going on in that business. And I talk about this, it's a little melodramatic, so bear with me, but it is a metaphor that lands most of the time. If you were given the cure to cancer and you were in front of someone who had just been diagnosed, is there anything you would stop at to get that answer into the hands of that person? Probably not. You would be screaming from the mountaintops. You would be in the streets running around going, "I've got it. Who's got cancer? Let's go ahead and solve this." Now, you'd have to find out what kind of cancer it is and how long they've had it, and you'd have to do the discovery. But by the end, for you to assume they wouldn't want it is insane. It's like counterintuitive. At the same time, because they do have cancer and they're probably confused and scared, you're also not going to pounce on them and say, "Oh, I've got it, I've got it." You're going to have a nice conversation about, "Hey, sounds like you're really suffering. I think I might be able to help you. Would you be interested in talking about what that would look like?" And I have the medicine. I have it right here in a bottle. I have several because I don't know what kind to give you yet, but I have several, but we could talk about what it looks like. And so that I don't want to seem salesy comes from being sold to poorly by others in the past. So that high pressure that any of your audience, any of you listening have probably purchased a program, went through a sales process, and they made you feel guilty. They shamed you. You said no and they just kept pushing. Guess what? You're not going to do that. So, for you to be fearful that you would be like that or be seen like that, you have full control over not being seen that way simply by orchestrating your language and practicing your language in a way that sounds authentic because it is. And it's coming from, back to that come from again, it's coming from a place of empathy, concern, and curiosity. It is not coming from a place of, "I've got a thing to sell you and I need to get this in your hands." Now, the cancer metaphor, you do want to get in their hands, but you're going to be gentle. You're going to be caring for this person you're talking to. And I've said this forever, Mary. Women of all people are the most natural, most beautiful salespeople. We lead with empathy. We have intuition. We are kind and we're question askers. I don't know how many of you out there have husbands who complain about asking too many questions. My husband comes home, he tells me a story, and I'm in it. I'm like, "But what about this? About that? Well, what did he say? What did she say?" And he just shakes his head. Like, what? Where does this come from? So we are natural question askers. We are naturally inquisitive. We're actually intuitive as well. So we can read a room way better than most men. I won't say all men because those men out there, but can be your zone if you just come into terms with how it can be done authentically and naturally, which is really where we all want to live anyway. And so with this, I think that fear of how you're seen and what people think of you is what keeps you from moving to that transaction question. We solve that by just giving you good, solid language that is in your repertoire. It's in your come from, it's programmed. You know exactly how to say it, what to say, and you use your own words.
Amazing. Amazing. And like you said, it's this conditioning we've gotten of, wow, I don't want to make someone feel like I felt in that
That's
bad
right.
situation.
That's right.
But great reminder that you have control over that. You don't have to go down that way. There's other ways to go. It can be your voice, your language, and it can build on the skills that you already have, right? If
That's
you're
right.
naturally intuitive, you're naturally a question asker.
And there's not a place in life anywhere that we can control what other people think of us. Nowhere. This scenario with your husband, with your kids, with your community, there is no place you can control what other people think. So we have to stop trying, period.
100%. Amazing. Hopefully everyone has a very full set of sticky notes coming out of our episode today. Thank you so much, Teresa, for coming and sharing your gifts with us.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. I would love to just invite, I know there's probably other questions people have for you and would love to follow up and connect with you. We'll definitely be including some links with this episode wherever they're watching or listening to it. But what's the best place if someone is going to go right now to connect with you online?
Best place is my LinkedIn, which is tjsellingcoach.com. I had to look at my URL because I've changed it a couple of times. TJ Selling Coach, and that is LinkedIn direct, or they can email me at Teresa@salescallcoach.com.
Amazing. And we'll definitely include those as well as the other links because I believe you said that you had a maybe free gift for
I
the folks
do.
listening.
I do. I have my care conversational guide for a free download, and it basically takes you through the care formula, which is circumstance, an audit of what's going on, what are the risks and ramifications, and let's explore options. So CARE is a formula that helps guide. It's like a little map inside the sales conversation, so you know where you're going and what to transition to next. So you get all the bits and pieces that you need to make a compelling case to do business with you.
Amazing. So if you've been feeling stumped by sales, definitely take Teresa up on that free offer. We'll include the link with this episode. Thank you again, Teresa. And any
Absolutely.
parting thoughts for our audience?
Don't be afraid of asking for the business from people that you know you can help and the value is there. And if you have helped them see it, they will see it and you'll naturally have a working relationship. So don't be afraid. Step all that stuff. I call her Amy, the little amygdala. I tell her, sit down. I got this, girlfriend. So move forward through the fear, because on the back side of being able to sell is your ability to print money and make an impact in the world.
Amazing. Thank you again. And for everyone listening, definitely reach out to Teresa with all those questions that I know are coming up for you right now. And I am so happy that you joined us for this episode. I will see you on the next episode of Sticky Note Marketing.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Sticky Note Marketing Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit. Until next time, keep it simple and stay focused.